The shop smelled of oil, rust, and rain. The kind of smell that clings to your clothes and stays there long after you've gone home. Jason wiped the sweat from his forehead and set down his wrench, squinting through the drizzle outside the bay door. It was almost closing time at Miller's Auto Service, and he was looking forward to getting home to his little girl, Ava. She'd been waiting to show him her new drawing, the one she'd made for the school art fair. But that's when he saw her. An elderly woman, soaked through from the rain, struggling to push a broken electric wheelchair across the lot. One of the wheels wobbled uselessly, the motor whining in protest. She looked exhausted, and every few steps she had to stop to catch her breath. Jason didn't even think about it, he dropped his rag and jogged over. "Ma'am, let me help you with that," he said, his voice gentle. "Oh, I didn't want to trouble anyone," she said, her voice trembling. "My chair just gave out halfway down the block. I was hoping someone could take a quick look." Jason smiled. "You came to the right place." He wheeled the chair inside the shop and began examining it. The rain drummed against the metal roof as he pulled the cover off the control module. The wiring was a mess, probably hadn't been serviced in years. "Old motor's shot," he muttered, half to himself. "But I can get it working." "Jason," came the sharp voice of his boss, Ron Miller, from the office doorway. "What the hell are you doing?" Jason straightened up. "Just fixing her wheelchair, Ron. She got caught in the rain." Miller's face turned red. "Do you see a car? Do you see a truck? We fix vehicles, not charity cases. Clock out if you're gonna play social worker." Jason clenched his jaw. "It'll only take 15 minutes. She can't exactly walk home." Miller stepped closer, his tone icy. 15 minutes is $15 I'm paying you to do nothing. You wanna help her, do it on your own time." The old woman started to speak, but Jason shook his head softly. "It's all right, ma'am, I've got this." He finished the repair anyway. Rewired the connector, replaced a corroded fuse from the scrap bin, and tightened the axle bolt. When he powered it up, the little chair hummed back to life. The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Oh, thank you, young man. You have no idea what this means. My husband built this chair for me before he passed." Jason smiled. "Just promise me you'll stay out of the rain next time." She handed him a crumpled 20, but he refused it. "No charge." Miller was fuming. The second the old woman left, he stomped toward Jason, red-faced. "You think you're some kind of hero, huh? You just cost this shop money, and made me look like a fool." Jason's patience finally cracked. "You made yourself look like a fool, Ron. That woman needed help." Miller's lips curled into a sneer. "You're fired. Clean out your toolbox and get out." Jason didn't argue. He just stared at him for a long second, then nodded, grabbed his jacket, and walked out into the rain. That night, he tried to stay calm for Ava. She didn't need to know her dad had just lost his job again. He tucked her in, smiled through the worry, and told her everything was fine. But when she fell asleep, he sat by the window, staring at the rain, wondering how much longer he could keep pretending. The next morning, just before dawn, Jason heard a low rumble outside. Not one engine, several. He peeked through the curtains, and his heart skipped. 7 black SUVs lined his driveway, engines idling, windows tinted. The kind of vehicles you saw in movies, not in small-town Georgia. He threw on a shirt and stepped outside, confused and cautious. The front doors of the SUVs opened almost in unison. Men and women in dark suits stepped out, clean-cut, calm, serious. One of them, a tall man with a military posture and an earpiece, approached him. "Jason Reed, yeah, what's going on?" The man extended a hand. "Special Agent Coleman, I represent a private security detail. We'd like to thank you for your actions yesterday." Jason blinked. "My actions?" Coleman smiled faintly. "Helping Mrs. Harrington." The name meant nothing to Jason. "Wait, the lady with the wheelchair." Coleman nodded. "That's correct, Mrs. Eleanor Harrington." Jason frowned. "She didn't tell me her name." "She wouldn't have. She values her privacy." Coleman gestured toward one of the SUVs. "She asked to speak with you personally." Jason hesitated, then followed. The rear door opened, and inside sat the same elderly woman, only this time she wasn't wearing a raincoat. She wore a tailored suit and a pearl brooch. The kind of outfit that whispered old money. "Good morning, Mr. Reed," she said with a kind smile. "I hope I didn't startle you." Jason blinked. "Mrs. Harrington, what's all this?" She gestured toward the security team outside. "My husband founded Harrington Robotics. Our company builds mobility equipment for veterans and the disabled. The chair you repaired yesterday was a prototype. Jason's mouth went dry. Prototype. Yes, she said softly. And you fixed it in 15 minutes. My engineers couldn't get it running last week. He didn't know what to say. Mrs. Harrington smiled. You didn't just repair a broken chair, you reminded me that real kindness still exists. That's something money can't buy. Jason looked away, embarrassed. I was just doing what anyone should have done. Perhaps, she said, but very few do. She opened a folder on her lap and slid it toward him. Inside were documents, an offer letter, company logo, and salary figures that made Jason's head spin. I'd like you to head our field repair division. You'll oversee our technicians and train them to have the same integrity you showed me. He stared at her, stunned. Are you serious? Completely. She smiled again. And don't worry about your former employer. I already bought Miller's auto service this morning. I think it'll make a fine training facility. Jason's jaw dropped. You, what? Ron Miller will be seeking new employment, she said calmly. Perhaps he'll learn a thing or two about respect. Jason couldn't help it. He laughed, the first real laugh he'd had in weeks. Mrs. Harrington leaned forward. You did the right thing when no one was watching. That's what this world needs, Mr. Reed. Men who fix more than machines, they fix what's broken in people. Jason swallowed hard, his eyes stinging just a little. Thank you, ma'am, I won't let you down. I know you won't, she said warmly. Now get dressed, we've got work to do. As the SUVs rolled away, Jason stood in his driveway, the morning sun breaking through the clouds. For the first time in years, he felt like life had just fixed him back. Rain always found its way through the broken roof tiles of Miller's auto service. It dripped rhythmically into an old oil pan beside Jason Reed's workbench, ping, 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 a sound that had become part of his day. Jason didn't mind. He'd worked through worse, nights in cold garages, busted knuckles, and weeks where he didn't know if he'd make rent. But today, all he could think about was getting home to his daughter. Ava had made him promise to be home early. She said she had, a surprise, which usually meant a drawing, or a paper crown, or a hug that could melt any worry. He was wiping grease off his hands when he noticed movement out by the road. A small figure struggled against the rain, a frail woman pushing a wheelchair that barely rolled. One of its wheels wobbled like it was about to come off. The woman's coat was soaked through, her hair plastered to her forehead. Jason's heart tightened. Without a thought, he grabbed his jacket and ran outside. Ma'am, here, let me give you a hand, he called out, jogging toward her. She looked up, startled. Oh dear, I didn't mean to be a bother. I just thought maybe someone here could. Jason smiled. You're no bother at all. Let's get you out of this rain. He pushed the heavy wheelchair into the garage, where the familiar scent of metal and motor oil wrapped around them. The lights flickered overhead as Jason squatted beside the chair. He could see the problem right away. Rusted motor connectors, frayed wiring, and a cracked fuse. Looks like it hasn't had a tune-up in a while, he said lightly. Before the woman could reply, a sharp voice cut through the room. Jason, what the hell are you doing? Ron Miller, the shop owner, stomped out from his office, tie loosened, cigar still smoking between his teeth. His thick hands were jammed into his pockets, and the usual vein on his temple pulsed in annoyance. Jason kept his cool. She needed help, Ron. Her wheelchair motor's dead. Ron frowned. Do you see a car? Do you see a VIN number on that thing? We fix engines, not toys. Jason glanced at the old woman, who stood quietly, clutching her purse. Toys don't keep people alive, Ron. She can't move without this. Ron's face twisted. Then she should have gone to a medical supply store. Not my shop. Clock out if you're gonna waste my time. Jason didn't move. He turned back to his tools, tightening the corroded wire. Won't take long. I've got the parts here. I said clock out. Ron barked, his voice echoing across the concrete walls. The old woman flinched. Please, she said softly, I didn't mean to cause trouble. I'll just go. Jason stood up and looked her in the eyes. You stay right there, ma'am. I'll have this fixed in 10 minutes. He turned back to the wheelchair, ignoring the angry huff behind him. Ron stormed back into his office, muttering curses under his breath. Jason soldered the loose wire, replaced the fuse with one he'd saved from a scrapped scooter, and straightened the bent wheel rod. When he pressed the power switch, the chair gave a soft hum, steady and smooth. The old woman gasped. It works. Jason grinned. Good as new. Maybe better. Tears welled in her eyes. My husband built this for me before he passed. It's the only thing of his I still use. I can't thank you enough, young man. Jason waved a hand. Just glad I could help. No charge. She reached for her purse again, but he shook his head firmly. Not this time. She smiled, a small, knowing smile. Then at least let me remember your name. Jason Reed, he said. Now, get home safe, all right. She nodded, still smiling, and rolled out into the drizzle. Jason watched her go, not realizing that those 15 minutes were about to change his life. When he turned around, Ron was standing in the doorway again, his face red. You done playing hero? Jason sighed. I did the right thing. Ron jabbed a finger toward him. The right thing doesn't pay the bills. You just wasted my time and my tools on some old lady who'll never come back. You think I can run a business on good deeds? Jason met his eyes, calm but firm. Maybe you should try it sometime. Ron's jaw clenched. Get out. You're fired. Jason didn't argue. He just nodded, wiped his hands on a rag, and walked out into the rain. Dash dash dash. That night, the house was quiet except for the ticking of a leaky faucet. Jason sat on the couch, staring at the unpaid bills stacked on the table. He could still see the old woman's grateful smile in his mind. Maybe Ron was right, kindness didn't pay the bills. But it still felt right. He tucked Ava into bed, kissed her forehead, and told her everything was fine. We'll figure things out, he whispered, more to himself than her. The next morning, a low rumble woke him before sunrise. At first, he thought it was thunder. But when he looked out the window, his breath caught. 7 black SUVs lined the driveway, sleek and identical, their headlights cutting through the fog. Engines idled in perfect unison. Jason stepped outside cautiously, heart pounding. He wasn't the kind of man to attract visitors, especially not ones who looked like this. Men and women in dark suits emerged, each one sharp, silent, and serious. One of them approached, a tall man with short cropped hair and a subtle earpiece. Mr. Jason Reed, he asked. Jason nodded slowly. Yeah, who's asking? The man extended a hand. Special Agent Coleman, I represent Mrs. Eleanor Harrington. Jason blinked. Who? Mrs. Harrington, the man repeated. You helped her yesterday, her wheelchair broke down. Jason frowned. That sweet old lady. Coleman gave a small smile. Yes, sir, the same one. She's requested to meet with you. Now. Jason hesitated, glancing at the convoy of vehicles. Am I in some kind of trouble? Coleman chuckled softly. Quite the opposite, Mr. Reed. He opened the rear door of the lead SUV. Inside sat Mrs. Harrington, dressed elegantly in a gray suit and pearls, her expression warm but commanding. Mr. Reed, she greeted. Please, have a seat. Jason slid into the SUV, still damp with confusion. Ma'am, I don't understand. She waved her hand gently. You don't need to. Yesterday, you repaired something my engineers couldn't fix in a week. That chair was a prototype from my husband's company, Harrington Robotics. Worth more than most cars in your shop. Jason's jaw dropped. I had no idea. I know, she said with a kind smile. That's what impressed me. You helped because it was right, not because of what it was worth. She reached into a leather folder and handed him a thick envelope. Inside were papers, an offer letter, business cards, and a salary that made Jason's head spin. I'd like you to lead our field operations division, she continued. Train others to work with the same care and honesty you showed me. You'd start immediately, if you accept. Jason stared at the papers. This can't be real, Mrs. Harrington smiled. Oh, it's very real. And one more thing, you won't have to worry about your old boss. I bought Miller's Auto Service this morning. It'll be our first training center. Jason blinked, stunned silent. You bought it, she nodded. Yes, some businesses need a change in leadership. Perhaps Mr. Miller will learn humility the way you taught me kindness. For a long moment, Jason didn't speak. Then, slowly, he began to laugh, quietly at first, then freely, the weight lifting off his shoulders. Mrs. Harrington's eyes softened. You fixed my wheelchair, Mr. Reed. But more importantly, you reminded me that decency still exists. Now it's my turn to return the favor. Jason swallowed hard. Thank you, ma'am. I don't know what to say. Say you'll accept, she said. And come to work tomorrow. Jason nodded, still in disbelief. Yes, ma'am, I will. As the SUVs rolled away, he stood in the morning light, feeling something he hadn't in a long time, hope. The rain had finally stopped, and for once, life felt repaired.